Ladies and gentlemen, Money in the Bank is officially in the books, and there is a lot to talk about. Folks, welcome to my Money in the Bank 2025 review. We're going to go through the entire show match by match. I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I didn't like. Did I agree with the results? Did I like the booking decisions? And we're going to talk about where storylines might be able to go from here. Now, if you are looking for the version of the review that has footage so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about on a frame-by-frame basis, that's already up and available on patreon.com/SantiZap. I can't post that here because it would just get blocked due to copyright. So check the description and check the link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. So let's talk about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That means let's start the video. Let's start things off by talking about the women's Money in the Bank ladder match between Naomi, Alexa Bliss, Julia, Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, and Stephanie Vaquer. Before the match, I was confident that this right here, this was going to be the best match of the entire weekend. And can you blame me? Look at the talent pool that's in this match. This had all of the workings to potentially be the greatest women's Money in the Bank ladder match ever and be in contention for maybe match of the year. Unfortunately, I have to report that I was actually rather underwhelmed by this match. And when I compare it to all of the other women's Money in the Bank ladder matches in the history of the event, I would actually rank this rather low from the in-ring perspective. However, even though I didn't love the in-ring aspect of this match, I love the booking decision of having Naomi be the next Miss Money in the Bank briefcase holder. I think that WWE picked the perfect option. I think that Naomi gives us the most interesting storylines in the main event scene as we go towards SummerSlam and the rest of the year. But the actual in-ring match itself, I just felt like it lacked energy and it just wasn't chaotic enough. Now, when I say chaos, I don't necessarily mean giant scary spots. I will say we didn't have very many cool scary spots in this match, especially when you compare it to the last couple women's Money in the Bank ladder matches, but this just didn't even feel like a six-way match. I think that there were very rare occurrences where all six women were actually in the ring at the same time. In fact, most of this match felt like one-on-one matches with four of the women just resting on the outside. It just didn't feel like the chaos that you should expect from a Money in the Bank ladder match. And even when they were trying to set up all of the so-called big spots of this match, I felt that they felt completely flat. Like when Roxanne Perez and Julia were trying to crunch Rhea Ripley between a ladder. That just didn't work. The ladder just didn't want to cooperate on that particular moment, but they just kept trying it, and it just created this awkward moment where Julia and Roxanne Perez kept trying desperately to make this spot work after like 3 seconds of it like just failing time after time. But it wasn't just that. There were other moments where it just sort of felt like people were standing around waiting for everybody to get into position. I think the best example of that was when we had this moment where we had two ladders that were propped up on opposite corners, and we were waiting for what seemingly felt forever for them to do like simultaneous code reds onto the ladders. It took a really long time, and the end payoff didn't look particularly that cool, so it wasn't worth the wait. But that's not to say that there wasn't stuff to like. I think that Rhea Ripley looked like a beast in this match. So did Julia, by the way. I think that Julia had a fantastic performance here, and I liked her little moments with Roxanne Perez that kind of alluded to both their rivalry, but also their time when they were a little bit of a tag team when they first got initially called up to Monday Night Raw. Stephanie Vaquer felt like a complete afterthought for the majority of this match, unfortunately. She did have the cool spot where she was able to hit the Devil's Kiss onto a ladder, onto Rhea Ripley. In fact, I would actually label that as like my favorite like big ladder spot of the entire match. Even the ending spot just sort of felt like it didn't have drama. We had both Alexa Bliss and Rhea Ripley at the top of the ladder that was really, really tall. And then we had Naomi come in and threaten to push it, but we had to wait for Rhea Ripley and Alexa Bliss to get lower so that they could not fall anywhere near as high. And that also took like an awkward amount of time to set up. But then ultimately we had Naomi climb up the ladder, pick up the victory, and become Miss Money in the Bank. And like I said, even though I thought that the match was kind of underwhelming, I think that the end result is fantastic. Obviously, the path here is for Naomi to most likely cash in on Tiffany Stratton. I think it would be poetic considering Tiffany Stratton won the actual championship that she's holding because of a Money in the Bank cash in, and she did so at the expense of Naomi. So it's a little bit of a full circle moment. So I absolutely see a world where in the next couple of weeks, even maybe even this Friday Monday night, Naomi cashing in on Tiffany Stratton. I'm saying that it could be early because I think that WWE is trying to set us up for Jade Cargill to win the Queen of the Ring tournament, to go off and have a feud against Naomi for that women's championship. Likewise, it could be Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill at SummerSlam, and then Naomi cashes in. So there are still so many different ways that this could go. This could be a quick cash in, or this could be Naomi biding her time, and maybe it's several months down the line where she eventually cashes in. If I have to ask myself maybe why this match wasn't as good as it ultimately was, when I look at the roster, even though they're all great workers, I think it's important to note that 4 of the 6 have never been in this type of match, and a good handful of the people that were in here, Roxanne Perez, Stephanie Vaca, and Julia, are recent call-ups as well. Maybe that had something to do with it, considering they don't have as much chemistry with the other women that have also been there for years. But yeah, it's a bit of a bummer because I was really counting on this match to start off the show super hot. The match, I'm gonna give it a thumbs down, but the end result I thought was brilliant, so that gets a thumbs up. Next up, let's talk about the WWE Intercontinental Championship match between champion Dominic Mysterio defeating Octagon Jr. If you didn't know that this match was gonna happen, well, don't worry, most people didn't either, because this match wasn't announced on any sort of like WWE programming. It was announced an hour before the show at AAA Worlds Collide, which I think is cool, I guess. Give AAA a little bit of hype, give AAA a little bit of that PLE exposure, but like, we couldn't have created some sort of program for Dominic? I'm actually gonna make the case that even though Octagon Jr. is fantastic, that I think that they picked the wrong luchador. Earlier on in the night, me and many other people that haven't really watched AAA with like closed eyes, we were introduced to the new greatest character of all time, Mr. Iguana, a guy that cosplays as an iguana and fights with a stuffed iguana. That's the guy that they should have picked to go up against Dominic Mysterio. But really, there isn't much to talk about when it comes to this match because it was so impromptu. It was by far the shortest match of the entire night, clocking in at under 5 minutes. So really, this was just a quick showcase of what Octagon Jr. is capable of, which, by the way, he's capable of a lot. He is a fantastic luchador. He was clean. His moves were fantastic. And ultimately, he ended up losing to Dominic Mysterio because he was distracted because of Liv Morgan. Dominic hits a clean 619 into a splash with Octagon Jr. facing down, and Dominic Mysterio retains. There is really not much else to talk about because there is no post-match implications. We still don't have a program for Dominic Mysterio. Octagon Jr. will presumably go back to weekly AAA TV. I don't think that he's going to continue to go after Dominic Mysterio. I think there is maybe a possibility that this could continue with other luchadors a little bit further down the line, because I could genuinely see Dominic Mysterio defending the Intercontinental Championship at Triple Mania later in August this year. So maybe this is the first foot in the door to get Dominic Mysterio to AAA to have a big match there. But I did still find this entirely unnecessary and underwhelming. But hey, at the very least, it meant we got our 5-match card. Dominic Mysterio is too damn good to not be using in storylines. He's too damn good to just be a background character in a different storyline. We gotta use Dominic Mysterio here and have him take advantage of this Intercontinental Championship reign that so many of us were like desperately hoping for. And now that we've gotten it, unfortunately, we've gotten almost like no storylines for Dominic Mysterio's championship after WrestleMania, and a throwaway PLE match that you will forget by tomorrow. So I am gonna give this a thumbs down. Ultimately, cool that we got to see some of AAA's talent at a major WWE premium live event. That's cool, but that's about really where it starts and stops. Next up, we had the Backlash rematch between Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. By the time that the match started, I actually forgot that this match had a stipulation. The stipulation being that if Becky Lynch loses, she can never challenge for the Intercontinental Championship again, so long as Lyra Valkyria is the champion. And if Becky wins, then Lyra had to raise her hand to acknowledge that Becky's the better woman. I forgot about the stipulation because I was just pumped to see the rematch for their Backlash Classic, and I'm happy to report that even though I don't think this was as good as their match at Backlash, I think that this was a fantastic sequel. And I know that a lot of people are just like by default going to be mad that Becky Lynch wins anything. That's where the term Becky Hogan came from. But I do genuinely believe that Becky Lynch winning here is absolutely the correct decision. I think it's the correct decision because the WWE finally has a marquee summer blockbuster type storyline for a women's women's mid-card championship here between Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch, and we needed a way to continue that storyline to the women's only PLE Evolution on July 12th, where they should probably have their last match. And for that to actually happen, well, we needed Becky Lynch to win here. I think where I may be a little bit disappointed was the post-match shenanigans where, yes, Lyra Valkyria did begrudgingly lift Becky Lynch's hand, but then Becky Lynch wanted more, like to put the title on her and whatnot, and then Lyra Valkyria German suplexed her and then hit a Nightwing on her, which was pretty nice. But I was kind of really banking on Bayley to make her presence known here in some way, shape, or form. So we still don't have Bayley, but the feud between Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch will continue, and that in its own has me really excited because their matches have been nothing but good. Just like their Backlash match, these two just had fantastic chemistry with each other. Their timings were fantastic. They had some great counters to each other's moves. I think a counter that really stuck out to me was Lyra Valkyria jumping off the top rope and Becky Lynch catching her into an immediate powerbomb. That was pretty sick. Lyra Valkyria looked like a friggin' Kurt Angle suplex machine at times out there, doing a beautiful stalling suplex on Becky Lynch right into a fisherman suplex. Beautiful. Like, these two truly work together so well to the point that I actually wrote in my notes, fight forever. And I like that this match had kind of like two halves. The first half was just a technical match between these two that had great chemistry and great timing, and then it devolved to a little bit of a finisher fest and cool spots on the outside. We had a cool moment where Lyra Valkyria hits a nasty looking leg drop on the back of Becky Lynch's neck while Becky Lynch is dangling over the barricade. That was pretty sick. We had a moment where Becky Lynch hits the manhandle slam from the top rope only for Lyra Valkyria to kick out, and then hits another manhandle slam on the outside, and then almost gets counted out, but Becky rolls back into the ring, comes back out, and then gets immediately hit by a Nightwing on the outside. That was an awesome sequence. And then the finishing sequence ended in a very traditional Lyra Valkyria way, where they're just trading roll-ups, and ultimately in the trading of those roll-ups, Becky Lynch is able to roll up Lyra Valkyria and grab the tights to pick up the victory and become our new Women's Intercontinental Champion. And like I said, the internet is going to find a way to hate this. I love it because it gives us more Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch, because their matches have knocked it out of the park every single time, and they did it again with this match. This is a thumbs up. In terms of what we do next, it's simple. Just keep doing this. Do not overcomplicate it. Just give us Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch again. If you want to add a little bit of sauce to it, then maybe bring Bayley into the equation. But now at this point, I think that these are just a delicious cheese pizza. We don't need toppings. These two can just give us a regular ass match, and I'm gonna be there for it. Now let's move on to the absolute chaos that was the men's Money in the Bank ladder match between Seth Rollins, Andrade, El Grande Americano, LA Knight, Penta, and Solo Sikoa. I think we should just talk immediately about the decision to have Seth Rollins wins, because I know that a lot of people are up in arms. Why did they give the briefcase to an established main eventer? I understand. There were other options. LA Knight was my pick. It is the one that I absolutely wanted. And frankly, I think that LA Knight was by far the best choice. However, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Seth Rollins was a bad choice either, because I think that Seth Rollins was maybe the second best available choice. I just wish that they went with LA Knight. I would have preferred LA Knight because LA Knight creates a new main event player. It creates something new, something that we haven't seen before, and also something that we've been clamoring for the better part of like 3 years at this point. But the reason why Seth Rollins works as a Money in the Bank briefcase holder in 2025 is because his character just works with it. His character of somebody that's trying to shape the vision of the WWE, shape the future of the WWE, having the Money in the Bank briefcase is actually kind of a perfect plot device for, being able to actually impact the future. And here's the other reason why Seth Rollins is actually not a bad option. Seth Rollins, out of all of these guys, he is the only winner that can actually legitimately threaten both world champions, because had any of these other guys won, the only championship that would be in danger of actually being cashed in on is Jey Uso's. But with Seth Rollins, John Cena needs to watch his back as well. Again, I still would have preferred LA Knight, but here we are. Let's talk about the actual match, because I feel like this was the complete opposite of the women's. We talked about the women's just lacking energy and not having like that feeling of chaos. This felt chaotic basically from beginning to end. There were numerous moments where I was screaming, holy shit, and there were numerous moments where all 6 guys were in the ring beating the crap out of each other, climbing the ladders, and that's just something something that we didn't get in the women's match. And the actual like big scary spots in this match, in my opinion, delivered a much more jaw-dropping moment than any of the women's spots. Like there was a really awesome spot where there were two consecutive spots happening beside each other. We had Andrade and El Grande Americano deliver a sunset powerbomb, and then at the same time we had Penta hitting Seth Rollins with a superplex off the ladder. That was awesome. And the spots kept going. We had Penta hit a Mexican destroyer onto Andrade almost through that ladder. By the way, notice how those like two big spots had Andrade. It almost feels like the women were missing their Andrade, somebody that could be there for the big spots, maybe like a Kairi Sane, because even though we knew that Andrade was never going to win this, Andrade was absolutely unequivocally valuable to making this match feel as awesome as it did, even if he never brought the drama to actually potentially win this. But by far, not even close, the best moment of the entire night was absolutely when Penta is at the top of the ladder about to grab the briefcase, and then from the outside, El Grande Americano props up a ladder, climbs up the ladder onto the turnbuckle, then uses another ladder that's there to tip himself onto the top of the ladder to be right there with Penta and hit him with the metal plate. Absolutely brutal. And then it gets even better because then LA Knight climbs and then he grabs El Grande Americano and then hits him with like a back suplex from the top of the ladder. Absolutely filthy. When it came to all of the spots, I felt like everyone had perfect timing. It made the match feel chaotic while never feeling unsafe. This hit all of the right check marks from a physical perspective to giving us a really entertaining Money in the Bank ladder match. What I was not expecting was for this Money in the Bank ladder match to turn into a Bloodline rules match, because that's basically what ended up happening. Because there's a moment where Seth Rollins says, all right, enough is enough. Bring out Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. They go out there, they clean house. We have Braun Breaker hit El Grande Americano with that Carlito style super spear. We have Bronson Reed hit Andrade with a nasty tsunami. They absolutely destroy everyone and clean house, seemingly leaving the door open for Seth Rollins to come out, and then they're about to target Solo Sikoa, and then Jacob Fatu's music hits, and Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo come out, and then they start beating up the Bronze, and then it sets up for Jacob Fatu to help Solo Sikoa climb the ladder, and we were about to get the moment of Solo, I love you, climb the ladder, this is for you. However, if you watch Friday Night SmackDown, you'll know that Jacob Fatu overheard Solo Sikoa talking smack, and this is where we got that moment. Because as Solo is climbing to grab the briefcase, Jacob Fatu grabs his foot. Solo hilariously like looking down with his hilarious facial expressions. Solo was great in this match in terms of like his character. He was so damn funny. He like looks down and Jacob Fatu is right there to say, Solo, I hate you. And that arena absolutely exploded, and so did I, because he said the damn thing. Then Jacob grabs Solo and hits him with a Uranagi right through this ladder that was propped on the outside, completely destroying Solo Sikoa's dreams of winning Money in the Bank, and thus setting us up for Solo Sikoa versus Jacob Fatu as the program, maybe for the rest of the summer leading into SummerSlam. But I thought that from there, we would just have Seth Rollins climb, but they gave us more drama between Seth Rollins and LA Knight. I feel like the 1A and 1B as to who are like the crowd favorites to win the match. Ultimately, Seth Rollins ended up grabbing the advantage, hitting LA Knight with a stomp, climbing, and picking up the victory. So this had interferences, just interferences that I wasn't expecting, because I was expecting like CM Punk. I lost hope for it to be Roman Reigns when this wasn't in the main event. I just didn't think that they would bring Roman back on a non-main event spot, but I really wasn't expecting the chaos of having Bloodline, Temu Bloodline, and Seth Rollins' faction war with each other. I love the match. I truly do. Even though I think that they went with the second best option, I'm still ultimately pleased with the end result of going with Seth Rollins as well. So everything about this, I'm giving a thumbs up. And now let's talk about the main event, the tag team match between Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso teaming up against John Cena and Logan Paul. I was very curious as to why this match was main eventing after seeing that chaotic Money in the Bank ladder match, a ladder match that pretty much in every right had the ability to main event. If that didn't main event, I had a sneaky suspicion that something big was going to happen in this main event. I just wasn't expecting it to be freaking R-Truth. We'll talk about R-Truth here in just a second, but the actual match actually ended up being pretty good, especially there towards the last like 10 minutes, I'd say. I feel like the first, I would say like 14 minutes of this match, because this match went for on about 24 minutes, was pretty slow, mostly because they worked a really methodical WWE style bruiser tag match where Jey Uso was basically getting worked as we waited for that Cody Rhodes hot tag, but he got worked literally for like 12 minutes by John Cena and Logan Paul. And it wasn't until we had this funny moment between John Cena and Logan Paul as they kept like angrily tagging each other, and Cena was like, let me teach you. Fine, I'll teach you. They start pushing each other, and in the process, Jey Uso is able to finally crawl towards Cody Rhodes, and John Cena looks towards the corner where Cody Rhodes is at and very Nickelodeon style says, oh no! Now, once that hot tag happens, this is honestly where the match actually opens up, where we get some really cool spots, where we get some really great back and forth between all four of these guys. Ultimately, I wish the match was more of this. But hey, I feel like we earned the chaos there towards the end with everything that we had to go through with Jey Uso getting worked throughout the majority of the match. So ultimately, I'm fine with the structure of it. There were absolutely some awesome moments. I would say that my favorite moment was this nasty springboard moonsault from Logan Paul through the table onto Jey Uso. We even had John Cena take a little bit of a table bump, albeit not through a table, where he got speared on top of the announcer table. We also had that awesome moment where Logan Paul grabbed the drone after hitting a pulverizer on Cody Rhodes. Then Cody Rhodes basically no-sells it, gets up, hits Logan Paul with a superplex while he's holding the drone, so we're seeing the angle of it. And at the same time, Jey Uso hits him with the splash, and all of it got caught on the drone. I thought that that was awesome. But obviously, you're here because of the ending. We had there a moment after the moonsault spot through the table. John Cena hits Cody Rhodes with the title and seemingly has the match won until a hooded figure goes through the crowd into the ring and starts attacking John Cena. And I thought, oh my God, are we getting a cash in? I thought that that might have been Braun Breaker. I didn't expect R-Truth. R-Truth removes the ski mask to a thunderous pop because various times throughout the entire night, we got many We Want Truth chants. And ultimately, we got Truth. And it's because of this interference that allows Cody Rhodes to hit a crossroads. 1, 2, 3. John Cena loses. And now there's some stuff that we got to talk about. First and foremost, it's already come out that R-Truth truly was let go from his contract, that they only renegotiated a new contract as early as like 72 hours ago. So the one thing that I want you to get out of your head was that we were worked. No, we weren't. Do not give WWE an ounce of credit for this, all right? This was the people, the crowd that made their voices heard and told WWE that this was a stupid thing, that they made a giant decision. To say, see, let Papa H cook is giving them the credit. You didn't get worked, all right? If you think you got worked, you're getting worked by thinking you got worked. This is a fan-driven decision. Even though it's a fan-driven decision that TKO wants to make money off of by selling merchandise, they even rebranded R-Truth as Ron Killings, probably to sell even more brand new merch. This was not WWE's doing out of the kindness of their heart. This was not you getting worked. This was WWE realizing they made a bad decision and re-signing an asset that they should have never let go. Give yourselves credit. Do not give Triple H an ounce of credit for this. Maybe give them credit for then reviving the storyline with John Cena and R-Truth. Maybe, sure, but to give them credit that like, oh, we got worked, we should have just let Papa H cook. No. Throw that out the window. So R-Truth is back with a new name, Ron Killings. His merch is back. What does this mean? Because Cody Rhodes just pinned John Cena. Where does that leave Cody Rhodes in terms of getting a championship opportunity? Is it going to be Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at Night of Champions? We know John Cena is scheduled for that show, so it's very possible. Are we going to save that to SummerSlam? Maybe, but we have the King of the Ring tournament where the winner could potentially challenge John Cena if he wanted to. And then R-Truth, are we going to get a proper R-Truth maybe championship opportunity against John Cena? Is there a world where R-Truth is actually the one that saves professional wrestling? I think that that's actually possible and poetic because it was wrestling fans that saved R-Truth from completely getting fired, and maybe R-Truth pays us back by saving professional wrestling for us. There are so many ways where this thing can go over the next several months. The match was fun. In-ring perspective was great. I think everyone looked good. Logan Paul, to me, from a physical perspective, stole the show in this match, but then the end result, the return of R-Truth, was really the cherry on top. That was fantastic. This gets a thumbs up from me. Honestly, I mostly enjoyed the show. I gotta say that this was a fun Money in the Bank that was really anchored by a great ending, by a fantastic women's singles match between Becky and Lyra, and an unforgettable men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Ultimately, this show gets 2 thumbs up from me. But that's it, folks. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching my review. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.